Hi, I'm KK and today we're gonna talk about Topform. This is a Thai series with one season with 11 episodes. This is a story about two actors, Jin and Akin. Jin is a new actor who just started in the industry and Akin is a very experienced one. They met on the set of one of their dramas when they played together, and since Jin was very new into all of it and it was pretty overwhelming for him, Akin helped him to get into his role better. He showed him some acting techniques, and this is basically how the story started. I think we can summarize this whole drama with one single word, that it was a masterpiece. I absolutely recommend it to watch. I think that everyone should watch it, especially people who watch a lot of dramas, who want to see how actors' life look like, how all the industry look like behind cameras, because I think that when it comes to this, it's one of the best production which were made. They showed a lot from industry, how reality looks like there, what those actors need to face, what kind of struggles they have. But I think that the most important was that they made it from actor perspective, and they showed actors just as ordinary people, and that acting is just their job. Also, I think that it was a really good decision to show all of it from Akin's perspective, since he was a very experienced actor already. He was many years in industry, so he had a wider picture of all of it than Jin, who just started. I think that from Jin's perspective also it would be interesting, but we have some dramas already from that kind of person perspective. But yeah, Akin, since he was many years there, then he knew more, he has seen more things, and he was different than Jin. Akin already knew what kind of troubles they need to face, what kind of reaction people can have and that kind of stuff, when Jin wasn't so focused about it, and Jin was still like, oh, let's do this, let's do that. He didn't realize probably how many consequences their decision can have, and he didn't care so much yet about his career since he just started, and Akin who already built his whole career. Also, just as a character, Akin was very complex, so I think it made the story even more interesting. Another thing, which I'm not sure if it was something important for the whole picture, but for me it was really important, and I like it so much that they pointed out importance of theater. And in general, I think that in some ways this drama was pretty much theatrical. I like that it was a big part of Akin's character, since he was shaped by the whole theatrical environment, by actors who play there, and this whole atmosphere that you have in theater. And also because of it, the way how he looked at acting was different than a regular celebrity. But I will talk about it more in the spoiler part, but I really want to highlight it here. Also, from a technical point, the drama is absolutely a masterpiece. It was so well made, and we could see that they had idea for every single scene, how it's supposed to look like, what those characters are supposed to feel, with light, camera movement, colors. They showed those characters' emotions so well, and of course, especially Boom and Smart acting and their incredible chemistry made this whole story even better, because both of them did such a great job with portraying the characters, especially Boom, but he also had much more complicated character than Smart. But no matter what, both of them did incredible job here. I knew Smart before because I watched Don't Say No, and I have seen a huge potential in him back then. I was waiting for him to get the main role, and I crossed my fingers so much for him. Well, when he got the main role, he totally nailed it, but be ready for a whole rant on Jin in the spoiler part, because I hate this character. But Smart still did incredible job with this character. And also, when it comes to Boom, if someone needs a reason why they should watch this drama, then at least to find out who Boom is and how incredibly good actor he is. The chemistry between Akin and Jin was incredible, the same as with Boom and Smart. And I have seen that not only in a drama, but also behind cameras, they were so natural with each other. They also look like they were very comfortable with each other, and like they trust each other a lot, which is very rare and hard to make for people who basically just met and who don't know each other yet, especially in a partnership with someone. But yeah, later we had this four extremely unprofessional companies who decided to destroy everything for those actors and almost destroy their career, but fortunately, at least now they didn't. Still, both Smart and Boom, they're working, unfortunately separately. And yeah, for whole 3 weeks from what I remember, we could be happy our rallies with Smart and Boom, but yeah, later they took everything away from us. But I need to give it to those companies that they definitely made a history, so congratulations or something. I made a few videos about it on my TikTok, so you can go there and check it. But yeah, I was very frustrated still. I'm very mad because they almost destroyed two actors' career, which was just sick. And yeah, great marketing, by the way. But no matter what, I will keep supporting both of them. I really hope so that one day they will be free from those equivalents of Sigma, and they will be able to work together again if they would want it. I would love to see this, but if not, then I still would be happy for them if they would act, and I would follow what they're doing, and I really hope so that still we will see them in many different productions. But it's really sad for me because I feel like this ship was very special, and in general, not only as a ship, but their bond and what they had was very special for them. And yes, still there is a chance that it was just fan service, but I know it just looked like they really felt good with each other. And I'm not talking about them like they would be a couple or something, just as two human beings who get along very well. I feel like they were that kind of partners that separately they're very good, but when they're together they make their performance stronger and just better. Okay, now let's come to spoiler part, and I decided that I will first talk about characters and later about the different scene because I think that would be the easiest. And of course, let's start from Akin, the main character and character who I absolutely adore. I think it was the best character here in general. He became one of my favorite characters of all times. He was such a good person, and even if people were saying that he's perfect, I don't think so. I think that he still had his flaws which make him super realistic and just very important person because there are not many people like him in the world, but they're very precious. He was a true artist and actor, and that's so hard to find people like him in the industry, but it would be great if there would be more of them who would really understand what acting is, that this is the part of art, and who would really understand the core of acting. I fully agree that he can make the first impression like he's selfish, he's egocentric, that he has a huge ego and he thinks that he's the best. But I think that even if someone will spend few times with him already, they could realize that he's totally not that kind of person, that he's very caring, that he's lovely, and that he's very hardworking. We could see this during this whole drama, that he always want to make everything as smooth as possible on the set, that he want to make everything the best, he want to make everyone happy. And in general, he was that kind of person who always cares so much about everyone, not only on the set and his work, but in general about people around him. Like I said, he was absolutely beautiful character and I love him so much. But unfortunately, also so precious person like him really often meet people like Jin. And yeah, like I said, I will have a whole rant about Jin, but that's for a moment. I really like that he was giving scores to his acting partners, and at the beginning, when I didn't know what kind of person he really is, I thought that it's really just because he thinks that he's better than others and he's feeling his ego that way. But later when I realized that he's totally not that kind of person, I started to think that it's actually very useful, especially for him, because that way, when he have seen on which level his acting partner is, then he could match to this person or help them like he did with Jin, and how basically the whole story started, that he showed him some acting techniques, he helped him become better, and especially that he helped Jin realize that the best way to be a good actor is to basically become a character, because yeah, that's the core of acting. Like I mentioned already, I loved it about Akin, and that was one of the things why I love him so much, that he was a true actor and artist, and from very beginning of his career he has very clear goal. He always wanted to be just an actor. I mean, he cared about acting, and this is why he wanted to be the part of industry. Of course, he cared about some brand deals or be seen in different places and ads and that kind of stuff, because you know, that's industry. People need to do this to be more recognizable. So of course he realized it, and because of it he cared about it, but still all what he cares always was acting and acting itself. He didn't want to be celebrity, he was very clear about it, and I love it about him so much because yeah, that's the true actor. But on the same time, I really like this part when he explained why he didn't want to sign with Sigma, and that he didn't judge people who would want to sign with them because he understands their point of view, but yeah, he never wanted to be a celebrity. He wanted to be an actor, and this was his focus. I like what he said there because he didn't judge those people, but he understood that you know, different people can want different things, but it just wasn't something for him. But it hurt me so much that at the end he lost his career and all what he built for his whole life probably. But after the last scene, I think that there is a chance that he will come back to industry, because I think that it was a huge loss for industry to lose actor like this, especially that it's really hard to find someone who would be a true artist. But also they usually have harder life in industry. But still, even if we're not gonna see a second season, because I doubt at this point that we'll see this, that even if we're not gonna see this, I hope so that in this top form universe he will come back to be an actor, because he was extremely good in this and we could experience many times during this drama. I also really like relation between Akin and his grandma, and how significant she was for Akin, and that thanks to her he becomes such a great artist, probably because thanks to her he grew this sensitivity and huge empathy, which made him a great actor who was able to play probably everything. But yeah, thanks to her he grew up in a theatrical environment. He has seen how acting truly looked like. I love that they were writing letters to each other, and that she was so supportive for him and his career. She always wanted him to shine, even if this part with the dream was very sad for me, because we could see how much he would love to see his grandma and Jin, meeting each other, talking, and actually know each other. But yeah, it was impossible, unfortunately. Then still, I think that it was beautiful scene also, and especially this part when she told him that she's proud of him. It probably meant a lot for him. Even if we haven't seen her a lot, then still I get attached to her and I would love to see more scenes with them. Like I said already, I love that Akin was generally a good person, pretty naive also, but not in a bad way. I mean in a good way, that he had a faith in people, he believed in their intentions, etc. But unfortunately, really often it put him in trouble also, and that he ended up with Jin, unfortunately, even if he deserved for someone much better. That hurt me to see that many people, because he also wasn't the best with setting boundaries, that many people use him because of it. And also how much he suffered because he always wanted the best for others. He literally never put himself in the first place. For example, like during this photo shoot when he didn't like to smoke, he clearly felt uncomfortable, but still he wanted to do this to not disappoint people who are working on a set. When he was sick and he haven't told it to anyone. Also later when he had a stalker and he didn't want to tell anyone about it to not worry people and to not be a problem. So something which made me pretty sad and frustrated also, that at some point he started to believe that where he is in his career and his life is thanks to Jin, which is completely not true, because Jin was the reason why he even suffered a few times. All what he had was because of his hard work, and also because of him, not because of Jin. Something which was keep breaking my heart till the end is that he never realized how precious person he is, unfortunately. I really like to see during the story how Akin opened himself for other people and for different emotions, especially that he bottled them up for years. But on the same time, because he did it, then it hurt me even more probably how much he suffered since he decided to finally let himself feel different things. Especially that so many bad things happened to him during this 3 years from what I remember, because when I realized in the last episode probably they said that just 3 years passed from when they met, then it hurt me even more because so many bad things happened to him. First situation with Johnny, Jin who showed that Akin can't count on him when the times would be tough, Jin's whole jealousy, this part with Crazy Fun, that his career almost ended, and all those problems which he had because of Jin also partly. And also how people were creating different rumors about him and try to destroy him. Later, his grandma death, and so many bad things happened to him almost at once, which was even more heartbreaking. And when I was thinking about it, that even if he would still had his feelings bottled, then it would be very hard. But since he let himself feel all of it, then probably it was even harder for him. And yeah, I cried a lot during this drama, I was sad many times, but still it was such a great production. It was part of Akin which made me laugh so much every single time when he was with someone with who he was comfortable, when he was making comments about someone else, and when he said that he would do this or that in the situation, after the situation of course, or that he would say something when we knew that he wouldn't do this in real life because it just wasn't him. In general, he was such a cutie, but I don't like one part in this drama, and I think it was really wrong what Akin did there. He disappointed me in that scene. It was this part when Jin was sick and he didn't want to tell Akin about it, and he acted very weird, and Akin forced him to come to his place, and later he dragged him there. He was pretty aggressive, he didn't want to let him go. And even if I understand that he could be mad and frustrated, and still, it was simply wrong what he has done there. But still, it's nothing compared to what Jin did during this whole story. Okay, now let's talk about Jin. Something which I totally don't understand how and from which side anyone can think that he's even close to be a green flag. He was a huge red flag, a whole red billboard actually. Because seriously, he was such a jerk and manipulator. He was also aggressive, and this is definitely not how you describe a green flag. I know that our society love to romanticize horrible human beings, and for some reason we love them and especially justify them, but we really need to realize what a green flag is, and that good people supposed to be a green flags and bad people a red flag. And yeah, Jin wasn't even close ever to be a green flag. In the beginning, I hadn't such a strong opinion about him, but the more he was showing his real face, it was just worse and worse. I even felt sorry for him at the beginning, that he struggled so much with being an actor when he was at the beginning of his career, which is very normal, but yeah, it can be frustrating. But later, yeah, when he showed what kind of person he is, I started to hate him so much. But good part was that he showed it pretty fast, but at least he was good in improvisation, which is very useful skill for actor. But also when you're doing this, you need to know the balance, and you need to talk with your acting partners and also a director if they're even okay with it, so they would know what they should expect from you. I totally get it why he would fall for Akin when he was such a great, talented and beautiful person, but I hated that Jin got obsessed very fast over Akin, and obsession is never good, it's always toxic. In the beginning I even thought that he's Akin sasaeng, but fortunately I think he wasn't, but he was such a bad person that if he would be a sasaeng I also wouldn't be surprised. First moment where I realized that there's something very wrong with him was when he kissed Akin in a hospital, which was creepy itself because Akin was unconscious, but also he said later that he will be on Akin's side no matter what, which sounds creepy, and yeah, he never was when it was needed, so he didn't even keep the promise. But also later when they were in this meeting about their drama, and he was so detailed to how much time left from when they have seen each other for the last time, when Akin told him that he's in a park near his house and that he exactly knew where it was, which yeah, I had exactly the same reaction as Akin, that it sounded like a stalker. So yeah, he had such a weird behavior from the start, which when we look at them separately, then maybe they don't look so bad, but when we will collect all of them, then they look very bad. Also, another moment when it was very weird of what Jin did was after Akin was drunk and later he woke up in Jin's apartment, and when it turned out that Jin recorded all of it, because okay, at least he could show Akin what happened last night, but still, what kind of normal person would do such a thing? Even if I really like Sine and I don't like what he has done there, that when Akin called him and asked him to pick him up, then he does drop a call. And also later this part with 21 days, and I have no idea why Sine even trusted so fast and so much Jin when he basically was from Sigma, who wanted to destroy Akin already back then, and it would be literally the easiest to make Jin be close to Akin and later destroy Akin that way. So especially Sine as a manager should be way more careful with Jin. Another part about Jin which I just hate, how much he manipulated Akin, and that he made Akin overthink a lot, even if he was very aware that Akin was a huge overthinker. He made Akin anxious many times. He played a huge part to why Akin suffered. The worst part about Jin is that he knew exactly how to be lovely, caring and great boyfriend, but only when Akin was doing exactly what Jin wanted. Immediately when Akin did something which Jin didn't like, then he started to create some ridiculous stories in his head. He started to be mean, aggressive and completely unpredictable, and people like this are super, not only toxic but dangerous, and they should be shown as this. After this whole drama, I still have no idea what was about those wings, because I know that this is something about manga that played a big part there from what I remember, but you know, drama should be understandable on their own. People shouldn't need to go and read manga to understand something. But when it comes about them as a couple, I really like that for the big part of this drama, their characters and what were happening between them were very similar, but on the same time I was pretty worried for most of it that they have a problem at some point to differentiate their own feelings from their characters' feelings. But fortunately, or at least this is how I see this, it didn't happen with them, because it's sometimes happening with actors, but fortunately not in this case. And also I really like it that, okay, from Jin's side, probably it was love from the first sight or more obsession from the first sight. But when it comes to Akin, we could see how his feelings towards Jin slowly was growing. And at the beginning, he didn't have a crush on Jin. He just looked at him as his very talented junior, because it was obvious that from the beginning he has seen huge potential in Jin and he wanted to help him become better. But yeah, that from Akin's side, we could see how all of it actually was keep growing, that it wasn't just like that. I love Akin's team so so much because they look at him as a human being, how it should be, but unfortunately that's not very common, and that they generally cared about his career and him as a person. But I think that the most I like San because he treated Akin like his little brother. We could see how close they were with each other, especially the scene when Akin was in San's house and he spent time with his family. It was so adorable and heartwarming, but on the same time sad because Akin went through a lot at that moment. I really like his conversation with Sine and his wife, and I think that after this, finally Akin realized that he doesn't need to struggle with everything on his own. He doesn't need to try to fix everything on his own. He can talk with people who generally care about him, for who he's important, because yeah, he struggled with it during this whole trauma. But I think that after this scene he really understood it finally, because sometimes such a small thing like conversation or some sentence which you will read or see somewhere or hear can change our perspective a lot. I also loved it so much, and I think he was a very important person for Akin in his life. I love that he always supported Akin, and both of them actually, even as a couple, he has seen their potential and how many things they can do together. But even if he was really good with knowing how industry looked like exactly like Akin, then he didn't have Akin naiveness, and he always had plan on everything. He always thought about a few steps forward, what to do, how to deal with situation, which sometimes make him look harsh, but he was very professional. And well, industry is not a nice place. I absolutely love it how he always put Akin in the first place, how important Akin was for him. And for a moment I remember that I even was worried that maybe he has a hidden agenda, maybe he likes Akin romantically, but fortunately not. And also on the beginning, I thought that he would be a typical person from industry. When he was talking with Jin, I thought that he would want to replace Akin with Jin and he want to pin them against each other, but fortunately he was complete opposite of it and he supported both of them. But also I like that he told Jin on the beginning, during their first meet, that Akin is not selfish even if he can make that kind of impression, but he's very hardworking and caring person. And yeah, in general, I love his relation with Akin. I really like that they show different type of directors. For example, this one with who they work on, Akina, who was very understanding. He was open for improvisation, and he want all actors feel comfortable in the set. Especially I like the way how he treated Jin, who was a newbie, and he still had a lot to improve. But even if the director wanted to tell him that he should work on something or that he did something wrong, and he didn't do this in a mean way, but he still did it on point, but he was very nice with it. And that kind of directors are the best probably to work with. And from the other side, we had this director from Legend of Gemini, who was probably the worst kind of director with who you can work with. He made the whole atmosphere in a set very stressful. He was keep making changes in the script, which is just bad. And the worst was that when he was talking with Dad, that actors can't improvise, because if they will make some changes in the script, then later it will have consequences for the whole story. But when he was doing this, then everything was fine. Hypocrite. But in general, even before, when they were just talking about this remake, I was pretty shocked that he didn't realize that he can't make so many changes since this remake, and Akin realized it. And okay, I get it that Akin literally lived for acting. He loved it so much. And he was in industry for a long time, but still, as a director, especially that he was thinking like he's so great that he didn't realize it. Okay, I get it that probably those changes would be good for the project, but still, when you're making remakes, it has its own rules and you can't make many changes in this. He clearly favorized Jin. For some reason he acted like he don't like Akin, and I don't get it why he even agreed in the first place to work in this project when he knew that Akin will be there. He was a very annoying person. I definitely don't like him. I hate Sigma to the core. I hope so like everyone who watched this drama, because they were so cruel and disgusting, but unfortunately they were very typical company like this. And I hate them so much for how they were trying to destroy Akin's career. And at the beginning I even thought that Jin maybe work with them, which wouldn't surprise me at all actually with him, but fortunately he didn't work with them. But I don't get it why they want to destroy Akin's career so much, because it looked like they were just jealous of him, and especially they were mad. Like, a person who didn't get someone even if they like them and they just can't get over it, because he just said no to them and that's it, and because of it they want to destroy him completely. I also hate them so much for this part when they told Jin after he got an award that he shouldn't be seen with Akin anymore, and basically first they profited from LGBTQ plus community, and from what I understand, the Legend of Gemini was that kind of production, and later when they didn't need it anymore, then that was not okay anymore, right? And he shouldn't be anyhow connected with it. It was so mean, and seriously, it makes me so mad when I see this, that people profit from LGBTQ plus community without even supporting it. Like, actually make people aware of it and the different struggles and that kind of stuff, because people from LGBTQ plus community already have tough life and they really don't need more problems and people like Sigma. Another moment when they made me so mad, when they took rights away from Akin when it comes to his grandma story and, you know, the script. And okay, let's ignore for a second that grandma literally wanted Akin to make this performance. It was so ridiculous when Jin and Akin came to Sigma CEO, and his arguments were just ridiculous because first of all, they had really good reasons. Because first of all, if Akin and Jin would be part of this project, if people would know that Akin will direct it, Jin will play the main character, then it was obvious that would be success since they had many fans. So yeah, Sigma would just get a lot of money from it. So, you know, from financial point of view, it just would be good to let them take care about it. Another thing is that they could make people emotional about it, you know, create a whole story, how Akin loved his grandma, how important it is for him, that kind of stuff, and which will make this popular even more. But especially this argument that he was a homophobe and he hated LGBTQ plus community, we knew already, he proved it already. But when he said that because of it, people will not support it, it sounds like dude seriously had no idea in what times he lived and what people actually want to see. And especially in Thailand, like, you know, because of it, and especially if people will realize that they actually were a couple, this would be even more popular. So no, it completely wasn't like he said. And yeah, because of it I hate him so much, because not only that he was a horrible person, but even in his job he was terrible. I have no idea how Sigma still could run on somehow when he basically had no idea how industry looked like. Especially I hate Sigma so much for it that they kind of forced Akin to give up on his career. Because okay, as long as it will be just about Akin not taking other jobs when he would direct it, then it makes sense, because it would be hard for him to direct and also play in something. But from what I understand, he completely gave up on his career and he need to step back from it. And if I understand it correctly, then I hate them to the core that they forced him to do this, especially that he was such a great actor. And yeah, that was a huge loss for the whole industry. Okay, now I want to talk about specific scenes. First of all, I'm so in love in that scene when Akin helped Jin with everything, and later how proud he was of Jin, that he not only become more relaxed, but he actually got better after this. And I love that it was also a framing device for their story. You know, that we start the story with it and we end with it. I'm not surprised at all, because I'm sure that it was magical and very emotional moment for both of them. And I like that they were keep mentioning this and keep making references to this. Another scene, which is probably one of my favorite in this drama, was that scene when Akin improvised during Legend of Gemini after director changed the script. Finally, we could see how incredibly talented actor Akin is with our own eyes, not that they were just talking about it. I love it so much about it that we could see that Jin and Akin did something that I already mentioned that Smart and Boom have, that they shine separately really bright, but together they make their performance even better, stronger, more emotional, and just better overall. But it also made me sad that Akin felt in that scene that maybe really his time is running out. And again, it was that kind of scene that he was going through similar emotions in his real life. That made me sad that he felt that maybe soon he's not gonna be an actor, because that's really sad that really often talent and skills are not enough. Especially nowadays, both companies and fans expect really often that those actors would be on the same time idols, dancers, singers, I don't know, influencers, celebrities and everything, rather than just let them focus on acting and expect this from them. And also this part when people were mad at Akin that he's not active on social media, that he's not interacting a lot with fans, which shouldn't even be important for them. And this is something which I really don't like about fans, and I think that that's a big problem, that many fans has that kind of way of thinking, like those actors and those celebrities, idols in general, should be like slaves for them and do whatever those fans want, instead of just support their work and you know, when something is going good for them, then be happy with them, when something bad, then be sad with them, and that kind of stuff. Not care about their private life and about any other thing except their job. That's a big problem, and we definitely need to work on this as a fandom and in general to change this industry finally, so it would be better for those actors and easier, not make even worse hell for them. But good at least after this improvisation, this stupid director realized that he's working with someone who's very devoted to his acting, with an actual professional, and that definitely way better is to work together than against each other. I think that the scene when Boom showed his acting skills the most, and I think that it was the best scene for Boom, was the scene on the roof when Akin finally let himself feel different emotions, when he realized that he has this mechanism that he's acting all the time. When unfortunately sometimes happen with actors, with ordinary people also, but with actors it's even easier since they acting a lot and sometimes they create that kind of mechanism which can be very dangerous for mental health especially, and yeah, it can just make things harder. But even if the scene was extremely heartbreaking, I felt so sad for Akin, but again, Boom did incredible job acting with his whole body, with his eyes, his facial expression. Seriously, we could feel how much Akin suffered in the scene, but on the same time, I was so proud of Akin that he finally let himself feel emotions, that he opened himself for this, and especially that he did it in front of someone, even if it was Jin, that Akin realized that he can do things like this, that he can show his real emotions. He doesn't need to pretend all the time, he doesn't need to act like it's always okay when it's not. Okay, now let's talk about the part which I hate probably the most during this whole drama, and I'm talking about this whole part with Johnny, because what happened there was so disgusting. Johnny was really bad person, and I hate that later they were trying to show him like he changed, he's actually not that bad. He's one of the worst type of human beings. And also I hate this narrative that nothing actually happened there. Okay, theoretically he didn't Akin, or at least this is what he said, but to be honest, we don't know what really happened there, because first of all, even if he would do this, then why he would admit it? And another thing is that he was always lying, so why he would say true this time? We don't know, maybe he actually did it to Akin. But even if he hasn't done this, then still he essay Akin, because he took off his clothes, he kissed him, he made those marks, he touched him, and even before he was acting so weird, like in that moment when Akin was changing clothes and he touched him completely out of nowhere. What kind of normal person does something like this? And also his stupid his mind that he's saying that Akin was tasting him, literally laying there and sleeping, being wasted as hell. What kind of normal person think that way? And no matter what and how wasted Akin would be, the only person who did something better and who was guilty for the situation was Johnny, not Akin. I hope so that this is very obvious for everyone. But I'm not sure if the word happy or like is the right word, but let's say that I like the way how they showed that scene, that it was as disgusting as it should be. It wasn't unnecessarily long, there wasn't some weird romanticization like sometimes it is when it comes to that kind of things in different productions. So that's another huge advantage for this drama. But still, I think that for people who went through something similar, it will be triggering. But something which frustrates me so much in this whole situation with Johnny is how easily it could be avoided, especially that director of their performance, he wanted to call for Sine, which would be a great idea, but yeah, it was so sad that he didn't do this in the end. But still, just to be clear, I don't blame the director, he doesn't need to do this. Still, the only person who did something wrong there was Johnny. But also, Jin made me so mad when he was talking with Johnny, and that instead of call to Sine, who maybe would know where they are, or at least it would be easier for him to find them probably, or at least he would be aware of what kind of person Johnny is and he would be more alarmed about him, then why Jin was keep calling to Akin when he knew and he was very aware already at that point that Akin is not gonna answer? Because Johnny was very clear what's going on there. Also, later, Jin's behavior, seriously, he annoyed me so much. At least thanks to that scene we could see how selfish jerk Jin actually is. Also later, I felt so sorry for Akin when he was trying to get himself together, when he was trying to act normal, when something very bad happened to him and it was a normal situation. And also the stupid taxi driver, oh my god, he made me so mad with his ridiculous comments. Seriously, sometimes better is just to be quiet. I can't even explain how much I hated Jin after the situation with Johnny. And later when Akin called him back, and instead of care about Akin, especially that he even said on his own that Akin behaves weird, it's not like him usually is, and yeah, in his stupid brain Instead of take care about Akin in that moment, be there for him when probably Akin needed him the most in that moment during their whole story, then he acted like a crazy maniac and jealous one. And also later when he came to the theater and he dragged Akin like some crazy from this theater, and this stupid scene in a car, I mean, okay, scene wasn't stupid, but Jin behavior was stupid, when somehow he turned all of it that he looked like a victim. Seriously, that he had audacity to make himself a victim in this situation instead of care about Akin, who literally almost had a breakdown in front of him and who looked very alarming. Then he made all of it about himself and he was keep picking on Akin. That was insane, but thanks to that scene, we really could see that Jin was a monster. He was a horrible human being. And at the top of this, he even had audacity to manipulate Akin in that moment to make him feel like he did something wrong there when he hasn't. And it was so obvious just looking at Akin. And also when he said that because of Akin he looks bad. No, dude, it was because of your own actions. And that scene also, Jin said something like that everyone is falling for Akin and Akin is aware of it, like it would be somehow his fault. Okay, I agree that it depends from Akin for how much he let other people do with him. But Jin should be aware of it already at that point, that Akin is a huge people pleaser. But in this situation, it doesn't even make any sense because Akin was unconscious. Jin was very aware of it. And if he didn't understand what Johnny told him, then not only he was a horrible and toxic manipulator, but he was extremely stupid then. But seriously, what Jin did in that scene was victim blaming at the finest. Also, it hurt me so much to see how frustrated Akin was after this and how much he was trying to not have a breakdown in a car and later after he left the car. That he was trying to act normal when something horrible happened to him. And also when Jin said that if Akin is gonna leave the car, he's not gonna chase him, I was so happy because I really wanted it to happen. And fortunately it happened because Jin definitely don't deserve for Akin, especially after that scene, but also he did many bad things later. But yeah, that was the beginning of horrible and disgusting acts from Jin. To be honest, Jin and Johnny weren't so different and neither of them deserve for Akin. But I want to praise so much all three of them, Boom, Smart and Peanut, for all this part. Because first of all, Peanut, he was so convincing and so disgusting as Johnny, as it should be. Boom, of course, did incredible job as always with all his emotions, how shaken he was, and yeah, how devastated he was, but at the same time he was trying to act like nothing happened and like everything is normal when it wasn't, which really often people do. And yeah, he acted and showed emotions of victim of that kind of crime so well, but also smart, because even if he played a complete jerk and a horrible person, then still he did such a great job. And also I hate the situation after this whole situation with Johnny, when Jin came and met with Johnny and later he came back to his apartment. Akin was there, he wanted to apologize when he doesn't even have anything to apologize, but Jin definitely, after how he blamed Akin for being or almost perfect boyfriend, very very green flag. But also later, instead of apologize as soon as possible, then he was keep training Akin to be obedient, he was keep manipulating him, and he was keep picking on Akin's word, and it looked like he was trying to find another problem and make another huge argue for Akin and, you know, make him suffer again. Because instead of hug Akin, tell him that everything will be okay, that he is there for him, and apologize, then no, he was keep training Akin. Also, another huge manipulation that scene with Jin make was when Akin apologized him, then Jin said that no, he should be the one who should apologize, which I totally agree, but he could do this multiple times before it. He could start from it, but no, he was waiting until Akin will say it, until he will put Akin in a horrible condition, and later he was showing himself like he's such a great person, that he not only forgave Akin, but he also should be the one who would apologize. And also later when he added that he's not gonna let anyone take Akin away from him, which proves again that he looked at Akin like a toy or accessory for him, not like a person. Because seriously, he could say so many things there, like, I don't know, he's not gonna treat Akin so bad again. When Akin will say something, he will believe him. Or, I don't know, that he will be there for Akin, he will support him. But no, he chose to show him that he's just a toy for him and that he's not gonna let anyone take his toy away. And again, he made all of it about himself. I want to focus so much on this moment when Jin was trying to show himself as such a great person, in the moment when he has seen that Akin was in a horrible condition and it would be very easy to manipulate him. And only then he said that now he see that Akin is innocent. Now he believes him after he heard it from his or potential pissed, not when he had heard it from his boyfriend. Do I seriously need to add something? After that scene, it should be obvious for everyone that Jin was a horrible human being who definitely didn't deserve for Akin. The worst part is that Akin was that kind of person who was a perfect victim for people like Jin, Johnny. Another part which was so frustrating in that scene, and another extremely alarming part about Jin, was when he showed Johnny record to Akin only in a moment when Akin was in a horrible condition, when he was very vulnerable. He probably didn't think clear. And when Akin said that he will break up with Jin, only then he could show this record right after they came to the room. He should show it way before, but no, because of course then it wouldn't be good for him, because he wouldn't be able to show himself as such a great person, as a savior of Akin, as his knight in a shining armor who will hug him, who will support him. And how after something like this Akin would even dare to think that Jin's a horrible person when he even forgave him being or almost right. Seriously, how he can be seen even as a normal person and as a green flag? What? It hurt me so much that after what Jin did to Akin, then he fell for him, or at least he thought like this. And especially that after Jin put Akin in a condition that he almost had a breakdown, then after this, he told Jin that he loves him and that he never thought that he will feel like this towards anyone. That I was surprised, not at all, because this is what Jin wanted. That was his purpose, because this is what the manipulators and nurses do. And this is why he did everything in that order, not different. It was all planned, because this is what people like Jin do. They will first make you feel horrible, they will put you in a horrible condition that you will have a breakdown even, and later they will show themselves as such a great people who will save you, and later you think that you will never find someone so great as them, and later you literally believe that they're good people when they're doing bad things. You don't even see this, and they keep training you to be their toy. Another thing which I hate about Jin is that he just don't understand no, and every single time when Akin said no, then he was mad and he was starting to manipulate Akin to convince him to do what he wanted. Like in that scene with this uniform, that at the beginning Akin wasn't comfortable with it, he didn't want to wear it, but Jin first got mad, later he was start to make himself a victim, this touching story that he could be actor earlier and he could seen Akin earlier, they could met earlier, but he couldn't, so this is why he wanted to see Akin in uniform, which was his problem, not Akin. But yeah, of course at the end it worked because Akin was a people pleaser. Also, of course, he agreed, even if he was clearly uncomfortable with it. But why a green flag would care about it? The most important is that he was happy and he get what he wanted, right? I absolutely love it that they made a whole episode about crazy fans and how they stalk idols and how it influenced those idols, how they feel and that kind of stuff, because I think it was very important, because many people, I don't know if they don't realize how huge damage they're making to those actors acting so crazy, but I always had hopes that when people will see something like this, then maybe they will start to think about their behavior, maybe they will change finally. It hurt me so much when I had seen that Akin felt that something is not okay, that someone can follow him, but instead of take care about it as soon as possible, then he thought that he's paranoid and he didn't want to take care about it because he didn't want to trouble anyone, which is unfortunately very common behavior from people who are victims of stalking, because they think that they hyperbolize things and this is not so serious or this is not that bad, when really often it is bad already. When it comes to stalking, it's always better to react as soon as possible before it will get worse and worse and maybe even end with tragedy. There was a scene in a shop and this huge contrast between normal fan with who Akin feel comfortable, I mean as comfortable as you can feel with some stranger, and this sick girl who was acting crazy like a maniac. The worst part is that Akin was trying to be as nice as possible for her, even in that kind of situation when he should have a right to be more harsh with her and show her where her place is and that she's acting crazy. But unfortunately, I wouldn't be surprised if then she would create a whole scene and later she would tell people on the internet how he acts and that he's such a horrible person. Unfortunately, but in many cases, people really would be mad at Idol, not on this maniac. But fortunately, it slowly changed. People started to see elephant in the room, but still there are many people who don't see the problem and they treating those idols like they're some kind of, I don't know, public property and they can do whatever they want with them, which even sounds disgusting when I talk about it, because we're talking about living creature, not about a toy. But yeah, I really hope so that finally it will change. I thought it would slowly going there, but unfortunately that kind of things took time. But also it hurt me so much when Akin told Sine about it. Fortunately that he told him about it, but when he told about it, then he did it so effortlessly, like it wasn't anything serious. But fortunately Sine caught it immediately and he started to do something with it. But something which hurt me so much in this situation also that Akin didn't even tell about it to Jin when he theoretically felt comfortable with him already. And again, when situations like this happened and he come back to his shell, which actually is pretty understandable when it comes to Jin and after his reaction with Johnny, because Akin couldn't be sure how this time Jin will react. Maybe he would be jealous over this fan and he would say that this is Akin's fault, like he did earlier with seriously, Jin was totally unpredictable, but it hurt me to see that again he was thinking about Jin more than about himself, and again he was focused on someone else and their safety when he was in actual danger. And okay, I'm not saying that he shouldn't be worried about Jin, because that was very understandable, because you never know what people like this girl were thinking and what they able to do. So maybe she also would want to hurt Jin, since there were some rumors that they can be together, but still it hurt me so much that he didn't think about himself at all and about his own safety. I really like the scene when Akin was with his team and they were trying to figure it out what to do in the situation, especially that probably when those photos would be leaked, it would be the problem. Maybe it will even destroy Jin and Akin career, and that was a huge invasion of privacy. And seriously, things like invasion of privacy, stalking should be punished so hard that people would be even terrified to think about doing something like this. But also the problem is with people, if those photos would be uploaded, people would keep sharing it, and whoever knows what they would do with it, which is disgusting, but unfortunately this is what's happening. And that's sick that in that kind of moments artists need to be worried about their career instead of people shouldn't even care in the first place about their private life, and when they would see photos like this, then they should just ignore it, so later journalists and that kind of psychos wouldn't even do such a thing, because yeah, people wouldn't even care about it. But yeah, unfortunately we know how people react in that kind of situations. But again, I want to praise Boom so much for that scene, and when Akin was dissociating so much, and that Boom showed all those emotions so well, how victims of that kind of situations act, that they don't want to be seen as paranoid, so they kind of ignore what's going on, but later when they see how serious it is, then they start to blame themselves that they should react earlier and that they made a problem for so many people, which is heartbreaking, but unfortunately this is how usually people act. Finally, when I praised Jin, then I'm happy to do this, because at least this one time in this scene he acted really good, that he came to Akin immediately, he hugged him, he supported him, he let him feel emotions. But it was funny for me that he said that Akin is the most important for him. Not long ago he blamed him for cheating, he blamed him for being, or almost, and he was horrible for him not long ago. He definitely was very important for him back then, but yeah, once he acted good, so let's say that I can praise him for it, even if there is nothing to praise for, but okay, let's say that he can have this one thing. I also really like that they made this whole press conference and show how ridiculous it is, how stressful for those idols, and yeah, that in the first place they shouldn't even be forced to be part of that kind of press conference, and that press conference shouldn't even exist, because again, journalists and fans shouldn't even care about their private life. Also, I'm not the biggest fan of this witch hunt that people make on her, because all those fans which made this witch hunt, they weren't much better than her. In general, I'm not the biggest fan of how Zed and the whole team deal with this situation, that she wasn't really punished. Police should take care about it, and she actually should get a punishment, so other people will think twice before they're gonna do something like this and hurt people like Akin. But also, probably the worst possible idea that they had was that Akin was alone with that girl, that he thanked her. No matter what, he should never ever show any positive things towards her, and definitely he shouldn't thank her, because that would feed her delusion even more, and have that kind of special situation actually with her idol, because this is what she dreamed of, and other people would want to have the same, and they would keep doing what she has done. So that was a horrible idea, but on the same time, I kind of understand that they want to end it with the least damage and as soon as possible. It makes me so frustrated, because actually those idols are pretty forced to act like this to not create more controversy, and that's really sad that this is how this industry look like, and this is what people expect from them, even if this is actually dangerous for them. But again, I want to praise Boom, of course, for that scene, because he showed how uncomfortable it is for idols in general. He again showed all emotions so well. But also I want to praise the actress who played this girl, because she did such a great job portraying such a maniac. Now I want to talk about the breakup scene and this whole part with blue scene, etc. But let's start from breakup scene. It was very heartbreaking, but no, I didn't feel sorry for Jin at all. He totally deserved it, and I was actually happy that finally he is the one who's suffering also. But I felt sorry for Akin, that he felt like it was the only way how he could solve this. But unfortunately, it was the easiest way to solve this situation, because for Akin it wouldn't be such a big damage, because he already had some position in the industry, and probably it wouldn't make damage for his career at all, or just for a moment. When for Jin, there was a possibility that it can turn out bad, especially that, Jin was very unpredictable, so Akin had no idea if Jin is not gonna make situation worse and do something stupid, which would be very possible with Jin. So again, that's even more understandable that Akin chose to deal with it that way. But the funny part is that Jin kind of felt that something is off. He even asked Akin about it. But yeah, why talk about it peacefully? No, better is to be aggressive, even young Akin, yell at him. As always, when something was not like Jin wanted, then he started to be aggressive, and he completely forgot that he's supposed to pretend that he's such a nice and lovely person. Yeah, I'm sorry, but after I rewatched this drama, I just can't believe that ever at any point Jin was a good person. To be honest, I'm curious if Jin really was sad because of the breakup, or he was more mad that he was seeing that he's losing his toy, because it kind of looked like this. His behavior also showed again that he's first of all super immature, and also that he's very new in industry, because unfortunately this is how industry look like, that these people need to keep acting even in their daily life, and they really often unfortunately are forced to keep lying to their fans, etc. Because yeah, fans can create a hell for those artists. So yeah, unfortunately, that's the reality, and no matter if someone like it or not, that was the easiest way to deal with it. And this whole blue scene, it was absolutely stunning, but at the same time, I think that it was one of the scariest scene in this whole drama. I was so terrified during all of it, because seeing how mad Jin is and how aggressive he was, and Akin didn't know him from that way probably, or at least he was keep ignoring that Jin is that kind of person. I was terrified that at some point Jin will Akin or beat him, because he acted like this. He was extremely aggressive in that scene, and especially this part in the beginning when he said something like, let's just get over it, something like this. He basically treated Akin like a toy, like an object, not like a person. And later when he said that Akin act like he doesn't want it, who would want it after hearing like this and being treated like this? It hurt me even more to see when Akin started to cry, because he was trying to convince himself so much that he really has no feelings to make it easier for himself, when he unfortunately loved this monster. And yeah, that moment when he started to cry, I felt so sorry for him. For Jin at all, because he acted like crazy. And just to be clear, I don't think that what Akin did was the right choice and that was good. Because no, it was obvious that both of them would be hurt. But unfortunately, it was the easiest solution. And I blame here companies and also fans culture, that people even engage so much in this. When some fans sasaeng, or some journalists find something juicy on those idols, that people even engage anything with it instead of ignore it and care only about those actors and idols' career, not about their private life, and not engage in those controversies, as long as those actors are not doing something actually bad. Because that they're dating is not a bad thing, or that, I don't know, they have a life, they having fun, they come to parties and that kind of stuff. This is their life. But yeah, unfortunately, that's collective responsibility, so we need to change it. That would be great if those idols and actors would have easier life, they could be able to just enjoy life and be ordinary people also. But we all need to take care about it, and yeah, show people who are forcing them to do this that they're wrong and they're part of the problem. And also companies to make them stop creating this stupid delusion that those idols should be like slaves for their fans and do whatever they fans want. It hurt me so much to see in how bad condition Akin was after their breakup, and that he wanted to give up on his career. And that was the worst part, because when actors still want to fight, then fans can be a huge help, of course, but the most important is for this actor to keep fighting, because if the actor will give up, then that's the end, because for every single actor there's thousands of people who want to get their place. So if those people wouldn't fight for themselves, then no one else would do this. And also, yes, I fully agree with Zed that Akin shouldn't try to do it on his own. He should tell Zed or Sine. They had more experience in this, and Akin was very emotional about about it. It was something close to him, but for Jet and Sine, it wasn't so close for them, so they could be more objective about it. They probably would know how to deal with it. But on the same time, I understand why Akin did it, because he's that kind of person who don't want to trouble anyone. But also, even if I like Zed, then I really don't like what he has done in that scene, especially that Akin was already in alarming and very bad condition. And I get it what Zed want to show him, but he seriously could do this in different way. Yeah, I like him, but I hate it for what he has done in that scene. I hate that scene in elevator to the core, and that was the moment when I was sure that I don't want to see them together no matter what. Because what kind of normal person act like this? Especially that, you know, he was so hurt by Akin, so what was the point to be so close to Akin? But that hit so close to Akin's head, I even jumped and was terrified when I even wasn't there, but not even mentioning Akin. And that Jin acted like he enjoyed seeing Akin in this condition, he was scared. Seriously, he acted like complete psycho in that scene, and if he didn't have a problem to act like this in a public space, then he would be even worse when they would be alone. And yeah, in that scene, except those blue scenes, he showed the most how aggressive he can be. Seriously, Akin deserves for so much better than this aggressive, crazy, and immature jerk. I have very mixed feelings about this whole Judy and Jin plan, because first of all, those journalists who had those photos still could leak it, so that they said it could means nothing, because journalists definitely wouldn't care if someone would be hurt because of it or not. And the other thing is, I don't know, maybe it's just me, but I don't think that Akin and Judy were anyhow similar. And okay, these photos were blurred, but still, I'm shocked that anyone believed in this. But on the same time, some people are so delulu that I shouldn't be surprised, because they're seriously ready to believe in everything. So maybe after all it wasn't so stupid, but yeah, like I said, I have very mixed feelings. I guess that after this we're supposed to see Jin as such a great person who helped Akin. Oh, definitely not after what he has done in the elevator, but I really like that Akin hugged Zed, that Zed was there for him, and in general that again, Akin could see that he doesn't need to deal with everything on his own, and he can trust people who care about him, and he can share his problems with others also. I absolutely love this scene. It was one of my favorite when they went in this empty theater, and that they brought this nostalgia feelings, and that we could see that this theater one day was full of people. They shared their joy, their sadness, and all different emotions there, but now is empty. There's no one there. It's like we could feel like that was completely deaf space, but on the same time, like it kind of stuck in the moment when it still was full of people, and like it missed those people. I love the scene so much, especially when Akin was talking about it, and I fully agree with him that unfortunately nowadays many small places like this need to close because of the big ones with so much effects. And please don't get me wrong, those huge places are also good, but when we have so many effects in theater, actors and emotions kind of disappear when they supposed to be the soul of theater, you know, those raw emotions which audience and actors will share together, and all of them will be into this. You know, serious movies are great, but being in theater and experience the performance is completely different feelings. To be in all of it with those actors, their characters, and their stories. I had a thought for a moment when I still had hopes that we will get a second season, that maybe Akin will buy it, he will bring the life to this place, he will make it alive, full of people again. That would be great. I was so much into this part of theater, even if it wasn't really important for the story, but at the same time, I think it was, because thanks to this, and especially when we could see Akin in this place and how much he felt there like in home, I think that thanks to this, we could understand why Akin was the person who he was, that he was so empathetic, so sensitive, and that he was the true artist since he grew up there with real artists. He literally was so much into this since he was little, which created the person who was a beautiful person, but at the same time, because of those traits, even if they're beautiful, it was easier to hurt him, and unfortunately he suffered a lot. I was so mad during that scene in the funeral, because this is so disgusting when I see a journalist who always just waiting for a moment to get a photo of those idols and celebrities when they're saying goodbye to their close ones. This is someone's tragedy, not this stupid way to get money and you know, take a bad photo or something, or create another rumor. This is sick and disgusting. I know that this keep happening, but this is change. This is not normal. It shouldn't be. And also Sigma, seriously, they couldn't make a scene later. They really needed to make it during a funeral and take care about the thing which wasn't even important, especially not back then, about Akin and Jin relationship. And also, I really liked this part that they showed that even in that kind of moment when Jin was very clear and he told them that he can't work right now, that he need a space, that he need a break, then they didn't care at all, because money, of course, is the most important, because they have brand deals, they had different works, blah blah blah. And that's the worst in those deals between brands, companies, and that kind of stuff, that they don't include that actor can have a bad time, that something can happen which they can't predict, and they wouldn't be able to work on this, and there's always a punishment for it, which is terrible. But yeah, first those brands and those companies would need to have some empathy, but still I hope so that one day we will change it and we will force them to have it and treat those actors like actual living creatures. Again, so smiling during that part when Akin won an award again, this time with Jin, and he was talking about his journey as an actor. And also I absolutely love it that they mixed his interview with this part that he was director, which kind of was a new fresh start for him. He started a new journey that way, and I really like that it gave him different perspective, that he has seen that not everything depends on him. Other people are also working on the set, and they also part of all of it, that he doesn't need to bring everything on his back. I was so proud of him that he finally reached that point, because I wanted this for him from the beginning of the story. And yeah, I was so touched seeing this. I was so happy for him, and I was very, very proud of him. That he finally was so calm, happy, and let himself feel different emotions and even show them to other people. I never expected I would say something like this at some point, but I love NC scenes in this drama. They were absolutely beautiful. I think that this drama has the best NC scenes ever. And I'm saying this as someone who seriously couldn't care less about this kind of scenes, but in this productions it was different, because every single one of them was meaningful. They showing different stage of their relationship, and they not only were from technical point amazing because they were so beautifully directed, acting was incredible in those scenes, but like I said, they were meaningful, and because of it I think that they were so incredible, and this is why I want to praise them. But yeah, here I want to praise again Boom and Smart for the incredible job during the scene, but also for Boss, who was director, for the whole genre, because without his ideas, without the way how he made it, it wouldn't turn out into such a beautiful masterpiece. Okay, now finally, after so much time, let's come to conclusions. Again, I want to repeat it, this drama is absolute masterpiece, and even if I don't like some parts like romance or Jin, then still I think that it was one of the best productions that I have ever seen. It was beautiful, it was so well made, so clear how much they thought about it to make it exactly like it's supposed to be, to show all those emotions, to make it absolutely artistic and theatrical. I love it so much, and I think that everyone should watch it, because this is not that kind of production which is only made for entertainment, but they also show the different social problems, and yeah, they highlighted it in a way that I think it's very obvious that they should be changed. And yeah, that's another huge advantage of this drama. But that's pretty ironic that later those four terrible companies acted like this, because that's really bad when you're not even learning from your own productions, because what they have done is literally like directing, acting, colors, music, everything was absolutely stunning in this drama. I want to praise so much Boom, Smart, and Boss for what they have done. Boss was the director of this drama, because they turned this into such a beautiful masterpiece, and I think that all of them deserve for many awards. This drama itself, but especially Boom for what he has done with Akin. And yeah, again, I want to praise both of them, Smart and Boom, for their extremely natural chemistry, and for what they have done with their characters, because they portrayed them so well. They did such a great job. They have something so magnetic about them that you want to watch them more and more, and especially when they're together. And I think that that was a huge part why people even love this drama so much, because let's be honest, most people don't care about how artistic this drama is and about the social comments. They just want to see two guys who love each other and their story, or at least this is what they see based on comments. But even if not only for this, then still I think that it was absolute masterpiece. They did such a great job. They definitely deserve to be praised a lot. And yeah, still I hope that we'll see them together one day, but I start to lose my hope. I'm not sure if I want to see more about Topform, because I'm pretty sick of it after what those companies did, but still I love the story and I think that it deserves to be well known. I also want to praise Stylist, because they did such a great job choosing clothes for all those characters, because not only that they look absolutely beautiful in them, but also those clothes fit so much to their characters and their personalities. Also, that's the last thing, but I would love to see a full version of Akin and Legend of Gemini, because this seems to be very interesting, but only with Smart and Boom. Especially that they already have some schemes, so they just need to work more on this, and I'm sure that they will be successful, especially with this two in them. But yeah, first those four unprofessional companies would need to learn how industry look like and how they should make business to maybe not destroy life and career of people who literally make money for you. So yeah, that's all what I want to say about this drama. Now it's your turn. Please tell me in the comment section what do you think about this drama, who was your favorite character or characters, and just share your thoughts. I'm very curious to find out what you think, and I want to thank you so much for spending your precious time with me. Please remember to take care about yourself and others, smile a lot, and see you in the next video. Bye bye!